Hello, 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 welcome to a brand new Let's Play in Hearts of Iron 4, the New Order in the, I want to say the new update, Deep Freeze, but I think this came out at this point like 4 months ago, and I haven't actually gotten around to it until right now. But I did do a poll for the YouTube members, again, like 4 months ago at this point, about who we should play, and they have chosen to do the OFN Antarctic Administration. So, I don't think this campaign has like that much content. I don't think it goes until like 1972, like the big countries do. I think it was like 1965, but don't quote me exactly on that. But Antarctica. Antarctica is a cold and unforgiving place. Until the 1950s, the world's southernmost continent was largely ignored, only visited by the occasional scientific research team or a one-off military expedition. The land was divided and claimed by various powers of the world, but those claims carry little diplomatic weight, as nations preferred to focus on the more inhabitable region of the world. This would all change in the 1950s, with the scramble of Antarctica. It started with a diplomatic dispute between Chile and Argentina over a bunch of tiny islands that had formerly been claimed by the British before their defeat in the Second World War. Both nations technically had valid claims on the islands. Argentina, in order to secure their sovereignty over the region that they'd claimed, began a process to formalize their Antarctic territory, as well as adopt some of that land that had previously been claimed by the British. It was now left unadministered. Chile contended this action, prompting the United States of America to get involved in their negotiations to mediate their disputes, as well as stake their own claims to the Antarctic region, and things developed quickly from there. The Empire of Japan, eager to further tighten their grip over the Pacific, claimed the area formerly known as Maria Birdland, dispatching a small military force in order to secure their territory before the Americans could try anything. The United States of America was quick to respond in kind, consolidating with Australia, New Zealand, and former French claims into the OFN Antarctic Administration. The German Reich usurped the claim of the now Reichskommissariat Norway, which already overlapped with their Antarctic claim, combining the two into the territory now known as New Schwabenland. In a hastily finished negotiation between the two South American countries, Chile got the short end of the stick, getting relatively little of their claimed region, while Argentina secured sovereignty over the Trinity Peninsula and many of the surrounding islands. In the span of a week, the scramble of Antarctica had carved the continent into 5 territories as the Cold War grew even colder. By 1962, Antarctica had only become more exploited and militarized. The OFN Antarctic Administration is an important training ground and staging base for clandestine operations in the Indian Ocean, with the Japanese Antarctic sector doing much of the same to their east. Following some failed colonization attempts in the 1950s, New Washenland had become a testing ground for experimental aircraft, cold weather equipment, and, according to some unconfirmed reports, nuclear technology. Silent, the Omnaware operated a base out of the northwestern New Schwabenland, conducting their own shadowy operations away from prying eyes. Argentina struggles internally as their Argentinian Navy and Argentinian Antarctic Institute vie for control of the territory, while Chile would enjoy being given a bit more of the swath of the territory that they'd claimed. Even with modern technology, Antarctica is a dangerous place, rife with unforgiving weather, deadly crevices, and poor infrastructure. Yeah, no shit. Can you believe that there is poor infrastructure in Antarctica? Try as they may to dominate Antarctica, the frozen continent has never been kind to strangers. Prior to the scramble of Antarctica, America's last efforts in Antarctica were in 1940, with the United States Antarctic Service Expedition, the third expedition run by Rear Admiral Richard Evelyn Byrd. Byrd was driving force behind the majority of the United States' efforts on the southern continent. And his passion for Antarctica even led him being invited by Alfred Richter of the 3rd German Antarctic Expedition, which he declined due to rising tensions. Following the American defeat in the Second World War, future efforts in Antarctica were postponed indefinitely, as the United States licked its wounds. The so-called Operation High Jump was cancelled in the early stages of planning. American interests in Antarctica were renewed following the Argentinian and Chilean disputes in the early 50s, beginning the scramble of Antarctica. As the Germans dusted off their old claims on the continent, the Americans responded in kind. The member nations of the Organization of Free Nations consolidated their territory into the OFN Antarctic Administration, and immediately began deploying military units in the region under the command of Admiral Byrd. This effort, dubbed Operation Deep Freeze, was the largest Antarctic excursion in history, with a massive naval force, aircraft contingent, and over 8,000 personnel. With the Americans establishing a permanent base at McMurdo Sound, as the Japanese seized Mary Bird Land, and the Germans returned to New Swabia. The Cold War has come to Antarctica, and it's clearly there to stay. Following the death of Admiral Byrd in 1957, Admiral George Anderson Jr. was appointed as the new chief of the Antarctic Development Command and the OFN Antarctic Administration. His role was then passed to Vice Admiral William Reborn in 1961. Recently, however, the territory has faced a number of internal issues, as the Australians and New Zealanders, who originally claimed the land, have been demanding a more prominent role in the management of the OFN Antarctic Administration. Is Burgundy still around? I believe so. Yeah, they're still here. I think maybe they get a little smaller. I don't know. They feel like they're a little smaller, but I can't say for sure. You have claimed personal ownership of Antarctica? I mean, if you can do it, if you can pry off my cold dead ants, they will be cold. I'm fucking freezing. And hello, Red Garlic. How are you? So, we have free civilian factories. 0 out of 0. Fantastic. We have negative 55% construction. We have no office coverage. We have no army base coverage. We have no prisons. We have no hospitals. And we have no schools. Not a surprise. We have no production units. We have no power. Let's take a look at our economy. It's frozen. We make no money whatsoever. We do not trade. We have no credit rating. We are not in any economic sphere. We have no debt. So, I mean, I guess you gotta look at the good and the bad. We have no expenditures. We have no revenue. Cold War. It's cold. So I guess we can ignore you. Decision available. Okay, whenever you start a new TNO campaign as a new country, there's so much, there's so much, surrounding the country, right? So many little mini games. So let's see. Antarctic intelligence. From this window, we can see legitimacy, militarization, and supply of the other Antarctic territories. Provided we have a high enough intelligence rating, at least 25 to view militarization, at least 50 to view equipment. Additionally, we can also see how many task forces are available. Task force can be sent on missions deployed in the Antarctic Grid System GUI, and are available to be sent out on further missions after their current mission is completed. I'm guessing, so if I click on these, okay, so we have 72 legitimacy, we have 88 militarization, and 81% supply. We have no task force. Out of a maximum of 6. Automatically triggers the militarization hit 0. Okay, so that's it. That goes to 0. We do not know anything about Japan. Is this Japan? Yes. They have about half legitimacy. We don't know about the militarization or supplies. Germany has high legitimacy, high militarization. We don't know about their supplies. Argentina has a pretty good legitimacy. Well, basically maxed out. So militarization. Decent supplies. We have 80 out of 80 on them. Chile has also got high legitimacy and high supplies and low militarization. And the internal divide. While the OFN Antarctica Administration name would lead one to believe that it is jointly run by the members of the OFN, this could not be further from the truth. Rather, control of the administration is thoroughly dominated by American officers and officials, who control the vast majority of the daily workings and military structure. The land of the administration sits on, however, is not American territory. It's claimed by Australia and New Zealand, and the oceanic nations consistently vie for additional control over the administration, and for what they feel is their rightful claims to the territory. Dealing with this dispute falls to Vice Admiral Reborn, and the future of the OAA will depend on what he chooses to do. Blah, 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 blah. So Americans control 79%. Australia controls 15%. New Zealand controls 6%. Request American officers. Request American military equipment. So you cost us legitimacy, it looks like. You cost us militarization. We'll take the Army and Air experiences, why not? We can consult with Hillary Clinton. I don't know exactly what she's got to say or what she's going to help us with, but you know what? Sure, we'll consult with her. Let's construct some Australian outposts. I think that seems okay as well. Cohesion is currently at 55 out of 100. It'll decay by 2 every single week. I think we can ignore this for now. Task force info. Oh, Jesus Christ. Can I zoom? Okay, we can zoom out here. What the fuck is this? The Antarctic Grid System was developed in the wake of the Scramble of Africa by the International Committee for Antarctic Research. An organization made up of member nations of the OFN, Argentina, and Chile, and several other nations who were not lucky enough to receive a slice of the Antarctic. Originally intended to be used as a scientific mapping and organization system, the grid system ended up being more useful to the military than it did for the few scientists who could access the continent. Over time, German and Japanese agents operating in the Argentinian and Chilean territories returned for missions with captured documents and maps detailing the works of the grid, and its usefulness led to the adoption of other occupants of Antarctica. It remains one of the very few internationally compatible mapping and organizational standards, even if we go by, even if it's used by different names depending on where you are. Working on the grid system is detailed as follows. Missions can be run by selecting a tile and choosing from the available selection of operations listed in the tile window. If a mission is completed in foreign territory, that territory will lose status equal to the half of the amount gained by the initiator of the mission. Such missions will also be shown when present. Further details for all missions are shown in the button's tooltip. The tiles themselves are considered controlled by a nation if that nation occupies the majority of the tile. The controller of the tile, as well as the tile type and other important information, is shown in the tile window. There are 3 types of tiles: sea, coastal, and inland, all of which have different sets of missions available for execution. The grid has several zoom levels accessible to the control bar at the top. Each zoom level shows a different amount of information regarding what is occurring in each tile. The control bar is also a drop-down menu containing relevant information, such as the task force availability, resource values, and special mission information, and intelligence rating on select territories. What the hell? Proper use of the Antarctic grid system is vital to ensuring the continued survival and success of any Antarctic territory. What the fuck are you talking about? Okay. So we can click one of you. If we zoom in, it says we get more information. It looks like the information is exactly the same. Can I... Okay, we can scroll. So, okay. So that is... These are starred. I don't know exactly what starred means. Is that like the capital of our administration? I mean, it kind of looks like it. I don't know why. Or maybe the research, maybe like science stations. I'm not too sure. Okay, so let's click some of these buttons and see what they do. Like, what about like right here? This will take 30 days to complete. We will receive 40 political power at the cost of 4 militarization. Sure. We'll do some flyovers here. It looks like the middle we can't do anything with. So the middle just is the middle. Gain... Okay, so basically we're trading one thing for another. So what do we have? I mean, we do want more intelligence on Germany and on Japan. So let's patrol into foreign territory. Let's patrol into foreign territory here. Militarization. I mean, our militarization is pretty good. So let's just do a bunch of, like, patrols into German and, is there anything we can do in our territories? I mean, I know we're already at 6, so I'm assuming the answer is, like, no. You know, that would make sense. Okay, so if I zoom in even further, do we get more information on this? Not really, but I'm assuming that we'll eventually see, like, what the Japanese and Germans are doing within our territory. That would make sense. They do love to throw information at you. I don't know if you've noticed this or not. By the way, how big is our territory? It stretches from South of Madagascar all the way to a little bit past New Zealand. This is Japan. This is Chilean. This is Argentinian. Then you're German. Okay. So, like, do we eventually, like, if we take... Like, if we secure tiles in this... Oh, you have a special mission. I should have zoomed in on that a little bit more. Oh, you can't see it on this far zoomed out, so you gotta zoom in more. Okay, I see. Can I cancel one of these? Yeah, we'll cancel one. What's the special mission? I don't know. Does it say how we take the special mission? Missions per run. Missions. Special missions are also shown when present. Okay. Well, I canceled one. I don't think that actually helped us at all. Fire on the ice. In ages long past, the exile had known many kinds of fire. In the time of the Great Bombardment, it had become known as the molten blood of the earth, as the crushed heaved and cracked under the vicious assault of meteorites. In the time of the giant insects, when the exile's back was lush and green, and the air pure, the smallest spark had ignited walls of flame that raced across the land. Cycles of blazing death and glorious rebirth marked the passages of the aeons. After the exile was cast south and clad in ice, the wood and copper boats came to its shores with fire born of coal and oil. The fires were a spluttering imitation of its forebears, too small to take life, barely enough to sustain it. But today, there was a new fire, the kind the exile had never felt before. It was a kind of fundamental laws of nature had been subverted. Matters buckled under its own weight, shedding light brighter than the sun, searing all that fell beneath the rays. Gray cloth interlopers toasted their own genius, unaware that their creation had been seen by unfriendly eyes. The lonely grouping of snow-crusted watchers observed the second sun's intensity. Before long, they shuddered through the snow, eager to report what they had seen to the other visitors. A flag of blue and white waved against the cloudless sky, a blazing torch at its center. A new kind of fire. If this campaign somehow ends with the penguins invading us and taking over all of South America, I'll be very happy. The I for photography. Three men seated around McMurdo conference table stirred uncomfortably as William Rip Robertson showed them the photographs he had taken his team over the last few days. Embedded on the mountainside, Rip had had a perfect view of the detonation of a Nazi atomic weapon. The devastation wrought upon the Antarctic landscape had made an impression on all assembled. You sure no one saw your team? Vice Admiral Reborn had asked Rip. The agency didn't send me here for my eye of photography, Rip replied with a smirk. What's the yield compared to an American device? Howard Bale asked. Head of the Australian division of the OAA asked. On par with many of ours, said Rip. It seems that Germans have kept the pace with our program, or with our progress. Perhaps they're passing us in some regards. Edmund Hillary, chief of the New Zealand Antarctic Research Program, cocked an eyebrow. Surpass? Given reports from Langley and what my team has observed, it seems that Germans are entering a new phase of nuclear development. Redeployment of equipment, transfer personnel, everything indicates that Germans are redoubling their nuclear efforts. It's entirely possible, almost certainly even, that the tests we witnessed were only a taste of what is to come. I must communicate these findings to my government immediately, said Beale as he rose from the table. Indeed, this is dire news, echoed Hillary. Reborn pensively gazed at the photographs of the dismal landscape, glancing up to dismiss the spook before him. Thank you for your report. Are you certain your team can maintain field readiness in the case of another test? Rip stood up from the table. I have top men on it. Top men. American Control Administration has increased by 4 points. Fantastic. Do I have the TNO music on? No, I don't. I don't know if there's any copyrighted stuff in the TNO soundtrack, but we will turn it on regardless. So let's see. How are we doing? Bi-weekly shipment of 8 days. Maybe we shouldn't have canceled. I thought if we canceled the task force, we would have gotten it back. But unfortunately, that does not actually seem to be the case, unfortunately. Now, we do have some doctrines we can take. I think that's just because I chose to get the free points. But I don't think we'll ever actually see a military unit in this campaign, which I think is fine. We have we have 10,000 manpower. Oh, no, this is different. This is actually a different manpower mechanic. The number of both military and civilian personnel in our territory. Updates monthly as personnel arrive or depart, depending on the month and the season. Our active personnel is highest in the summer, December to February, and lowest in the winter, June to August. This is not the amount of manpower currently available, which is currently 0.02 thousand. 5,000 personnel consume 1 supply per day, or 0.0002 supply per personnel per day. We currently consume 2.135 supply per day. I'm guessing that war support and stability probably don't do too much for us. I'm not worried about that at all. Disunity. McMurdo Station was the closest one got to a city in Antarctica, capable of providing shelter and even a measure of comfort for several thousand souls. As opposed to older bases, McMurdo featured a number of interlinked isolated corridors and tunnels, allowing one to walk from one end of the base to the other without ever feeling the cold. A walk that the leader of the Australian research program, Howard Beale, appreciated. Nuclear power changed Antarctic exploration, allowing bases to be virtually self-sufficient in terms of energy. Based on the future might even be able to grow enough crops that they didn't even need to rely on resupply at all. Or so Beale, a proponent of all things nuclear, hoped. Such dreams of habitation, even colonization, remained dreams so long as the political deadlock that consumed the OFN Antarctic administration continued. Nominally, the OAA was a joint effort between the United States, Australia, and New Zealand. However, in practice, the Americans ran the show, to the great consternation of the other constituent members upon whose claim the OAA was staked on in the first place. Logistically, the problems manifested in the form of parallel supply chains and incompatible infrastructure. Defensively, different weapon platforms demanded different ammunition, and personally, different culture and military traditions did little to promote unity. As Beale turned another corner into McMurdo's many halls, he came face to face with one of the many other realities of the OAA, its multiracial makeup. American blacks, refugees from the Asian Commonwealth colonies, Maori, and all created problems which Beale often had to resolve. An organization of free nations. Okay, I think this is definitely a TNO song. I do not recognize this at all. But I'm happy to have it, either way. Got 17 days on you. Cohesion, I mean, cohesion is still looking good. Do you boost cohesion or do you decrease it by taking these? So you go down by 4, you increase it by 8, which, I mean, that sounds pretty good. Because, again, it does go down by 2 every single week. Let's improve comlinks with New Zealand. It's going to have coordination go up. Let's work with Peel. And we spend 20 political power. And our administration will increase. I think we can wait on that at least a little bit. Consequence. Vice Admiral William F. Reborn wondered if this was all the life the men of achievement eventually came to, being placed so highly that it was impossible to feel the consequence of one's decisions. Back when he served on and eventually commanded carriers of the Pacific, he could feel the effects of his choices, see the implications with his own eyes. When he oversaw the development of the Polaris missile, he could see the beast taking shape before his eyes. Every management decision taken was a reflection on his work. But the current office at the heart of McMurdo was the furthest thing from the bridge of a carrier or a missile silo. Rather than see swells, waves of paperwork rolled at him. Instead of sending naval bombers into battle, he sent aides to and fro. Reports of German and Japanese transgressions, Australian supply manifests, United States submarine patrol routes through the Indian Ocean, all crossed his desk. Unless, of course, his office had been used by the Australians or New Zealanders to argue who had jurisdiction over this or over that. Politics. Nothing else would have borne further out of his comfort zone than dealing with tight-fisted bureaucrats. This job in Antarctica was his reward for ensuring Polaris was operational 4 years ahead of schedule. He was only a year in, and he was anxious about the future. Antarctica was an utterly alien place. He'd only just begun to grasp the vicissitudes? I'm not too sure what that word is. 2 things that made this place dangerous: men and nature. And both things were arrayed against him. Fantastic. So McMurdo, I think, is on an island. I think we saw this. Wait, no. Okay, no, that's French South and Arctic lands. That's not really what I care about. Are you in the OFN? What are you doing? No, you're in the Einspach. You're part of the fascist French government. Okay. Where is McMurdo then? Okay, it's down here. We got like a little air base. We got our little blurb here as well. U.S. Antarctic Administration has Ross Island as a core state, which I don't think we need to worry. The Ross Dependency is the Ross Ice Shelf as a core state. Okay, so there's a lot of... I'm assuming these are things that can happen if everything goes to shit. I'm going to try to make sure that doesn't happen. Wait, is there any focus trees? I didn't even click on this. Wait, there is no focus tree. The only thing here is actually to view the GUI. Okay, so we got, see, the Japanese are here. Somebody is going further inland. Okay, so look, I don't know if there's actually a reason to only go on the border states. I guess you can just go, like, where the hell you want. Which, I mean, I think is fine. I mean, it's actually very interesting that actually nobody has... I'm guessing these guys also do not have focus trees. It's just the GUI. Very interesting. Team effort. The cafeteria, like many other buildings at McMurdo Station, was large and bustling with people. It was lunch after all. Kenneth M. Waldman, one of the nuclear engineers, made his way through the sea of workers, soldiers, and other personnel before setting his tray down at one of the long rectangular tables. You ever heard a man talking across the table? I tell you, those ocean sediments we collected were huge news. Some of those could be millions of years old, the young researcher said. He had a gleam in his eyes as he went on about what they'd found. The OAA may have been established to fuel the fires of an ever more militarized Cold War, but men like him continue to fuel the locomotive of scientific discovery in Antarctica, from studying the weather to observing its futures, the continent's fauna. Other researchers, clad in military uniform, piped up. While you fellows are scooping up the soil, we're conducting test flights on the most extreme weather conditions in the world. Wallman watched, silently sipping on his drink, while military and civilian researchers engaged in light banter, throwing quips and jokes at each other. He knew more than anyone that there was global powers and had much of an interest in research conducted on the frozen continents, especially anything pertaining to nuclear energy. Hey, no matter what we're all doing, one scientist said, it's certainly more interesting than whatever the guys back home are up to. To that, the whole table cheered. Regardless of their goal or their background, every researcher at McMurdo Station knew one thing. They were pioneers. And that was exciting for every single one of them. At least we can agree on something. Fantastic. So, so administration will increase by 2%. That affects these numbers here. But again, it does cost us, it looks like it costs us administration and like military power. Which, okay, it looks like we do have decisions available, but I think again, it's just you. Even our own legitimacy is actually like not that high. I mean, we are spending it obviously for you decay by 1, you decay by 1. And then you get eaten by the personnel. And then we get 60 supplies every 14 days. And I'm assuming that is more than... Oh, it actually goes up to 100. Fantastic. That seems pretty good. Duties and responsibilities. Rear Admiral James R. Reedy was a man who liked to do things himself. From his days carrying out anti-Kriegsmarine patrols in the Atlantic during the war to commanding carrier groups in its aftermath. He has always endeavored to add his own personal touch to an assignment. When he was assigned to the OAA, he was given a clear task: keep the Germans and the Japanese out of OFN's Antarctic waters and maintain operational capacity in the Indian Ocean. Clear, perhaps, but not certain. Clear, perhaps, but certainly not simple. Reed thought as he examined his latest reports. The Kriegsmarine had been more docile in recent months, possibly a reflection on the state of the Wehrmacht. However, the Japanese have been increasing their naval presence in Antarctica and are truly probing the OFN's territory by land and sea. Latest incursion featured 2 destroyers sailing some 20 kilometers into OAA waters. Reedy knew that he could not just let this challenge go unanswered. Japanese understood force, so Reedy would speak their language. He would echo their gesture, sending 2 destroyers 20 kilometers into Japanese waters. Reedy's job was not to escalate, but to do nothing at all would do just that. Appeasement is never a winning strategy, so we have an extra point here. Do we have any special missions? I mean, it says here we do. But I don't know which of these is the special mission. Like, is there one... special mission active in this tile? I don't know how to do it, though. I'm not too sure. I don't know. Maybe it needs to be within our own territory. Let's see. Do we have any in our land? I wish we can, like, zoom out a little bit more and still see the exclamation marks, but unfortunately we can't. I mean, I don't see anything. I hope they don't make the game too hard by making America a burning garbage can. I believe in the boys back home to not completely fuck everything up. Okay, so I have no idea how to do the special mission, at least right now. Let's try a... Where's the Japanese?